Hi all. Apologies for not getting these review notes to you quicker. Right, so what did we do last week? We looked at freeforming. What I intend to do today is, again, I'm going to go through this process. Anybody who's not clear about the notes, anybody who's not clear with the process, I'm going to be able to show you the methodology that's used to make it right and get it going and so forth. Right. So without further ado, let's kick off. As ever, I'm going to open a new part. Right, now sticking to the notes, the beauties with this is I can go relatively quick, or because obviously you guys can hit pause. So what I'll do first is I'm going to put on my top plane. I'm going to create the cylinder. Now again, it doesn't have to be this technique. You don't have to use this particular way. You could do many different ways of doing it. Operating from a cylinder and giving you an overview of a dimension. Bloody hell, it's back in this format again. I'll fix this in a second. Can often make it easier. So let me just change my units. Go millimeters. See that dual dimension length keeps defaulting itself there. I'm going to need to put it into millimeters just because it'll show that as a reference on it. And if I go like that, we're back in action. Happy days. Right, from surfaces I'm going to go extrude, and the extrusion length on this is 130. Like that. Now, if you remember in class we were discussing the idea of that for freeform to work, it needs an overall reference point. Now, if I click on this, the trouble is it has 2 points of reference, which is the upper edge and the lower edge. It's not as straightforward to give it a way of subtraction all the way around. So, what I need to do is come from the right plane, sketch and sketch, Control and 8. And what I need to do is split it, if you remember. So I'm going to select the face, and rather than going convert entities, I'm going to go intersection curve. What that does then is, I'll just switch it to black and white. What that does then is it actually picks up the edge relative to the plane that I'm operating on, which is perfect for what I want. So then I'm going to bring that across, close all the profiles off like this. Now, when you're using splits, project entities, when using anything like that, the issue that you have is the profiles need to be closed. So hence why I'm drawing the lines up and beneath like that. Put it back to the main profile like that. And now we've got an overall of the cylinder to the rectangular shape. So let's go features. Well, I'm sure it's in surfaces. Hang on, surfaces, curves, split line, and we can silhouette, we can project, or intersection. Intersection obviously is where you have two surfaces interfacing with each other, and you're looking for that edge to actually create a division between the two. Some have said to me it's many ways you can rebuild a trim in many ways. You'd have to play around with it, get used to it. So I've got my current sketch already active. This is purely because I'm in the sketch. Select the actual surface and then split. So you look now, I'm now onto two sections. Right, so this is good. So what I'm going to do is select onto one of my edges and go freeform. Like we did before, you'll notice that the mesh has now been generated. Let me just get into a position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a curve. So bring this across. I'm going to just roughly aim it just around there, just around the midpoint there. Right, now I can add more curves, but for the nature of what we're making, I actually don't want to add more curves. I just want to keep it to this one. So I'm going to come from here and then come from the right plane. And I'm now going to right click. So now what that'll do is only trace against the curve that's present. Now in notes it's around 8 points, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and save 2 for the bottom. It just gets me that edge, if you will. So right, points are on, and I'm going to right click. This now confirms it, and I'm now in a position where if I left click, I can drag and start manipulating and moving to just create me a nice key edge that I'm after, which puts it to there. And let's drag this up to here, and drag this up to here. So if I drag this right up, you'll see that between this point and this point it acts as an axis. So if I pull that to there or to there, see, this is where you can have fun with it. Really, you can look at it and go, yeah, I want it to do this, want it to do that. But what I'll do is I'll now bring this up, bring that to that edge. You see, what I'm using is this lower point as a fixture, if you will, where it cannot move. So I'll just keep pulling just to around there. Now you'll often look here and some will go, well, I don't like that lower edge, so bring that up. And what I'll do is I'll bring that out, bring my normal 2 reference out, and now it gives me something like that. Now I'm happy with that, so I'm going to click OK. That's then confirmed. Now let's say, for example, you looked and you thought, no, they're not happy with it, and this edge here needs to be changed. I can always go to freeform, right click, I can edit the feature. You see where the curve is? If I left click on that curve, I can now still interact. So it's not that it's final, this is just a manual freeform like that. So I'm going to left click on this side, again come to freeform, and what? Oh, I've forgotten. I'm just looking down the notes now just to see how many points I did put on the back. I think it was only something like 2. It's 2. So what I'm going to do is just replicate this process, and I'm going to bring in a curve. And again, I'm just looking to hit just the points where it's continuity, then markers there, roughly there. So again, right click, and now I can add my 2 points. So I'm going to go here and probably around here. Now, some were saying to me last week, how do you place them? So this is placed like this, but because I know I want it to really move, I want it to be deformed around the YZ plane, what I'm going to do is just look on that plane there like that. If I don't, what it could easily do, it could lead me to a position where when I manipulate, it will move in all 3 planes. So looking on this face will just restrict that level of motion, because it knows it cannot move, it has no understanding for it. So I right click, and then I'm just going to move it up, something like that, and then to something like that. So click OK. Right, so let's close the top and bottom. Let's close here, flip it over, and I'm going to close here. Come from the bottom, Control and 8. And I think this was 30mm. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I think this was 18. Let me just. What I'll quickly do is just bring this back in. Let's just double check. 18. Yes, 18 with a 110 extrusion. Right, so I've done 18. Now what I'm going to do is extrude it by 110. So I'm going to go 110 and then OK, like that. Now this point, it's a bit shit. There's a few things we need to do, a few things we need to change. First things first, the extrusion we've just done. So if I do trim, I know some were struggling with this the other day. If I do trim, now this time I'm going to stay with standard. This should do it. If it doesn't, we're going to have to try a different way. So I'm going to click standard. Now what it should do is see the interface on the face to the extrusion. So if I highlight it, and it is this face I want to remove, click OK. So now we've got that hollow face. Right, so some were unsure why I'd actually cut it in half. I didn't cut it in half, but I'm going to show you what I did do. So I'm going to go section view and then OK. Section view will just allow me to look on the inside without doing any permanent damage. That's all it is. So all I need to do is close the top like that. This technique is phenomenal for doing all different types of things. I realised as well, after some said you put a face fillet on and a knit. Ideally you wouldn't really use a face fillet after a knit. This is just my mistake. Apologies from that end. I will fix that. But if I go to 1 second, you see I've not knitted because I want to show you what I was talking about. So I'm going to go fillet, fillet type, face fillet. Now don't forget these are the pull methods, similar to your drafts. So this is my one direction one, then these will interface with it. So let me just drop that to, I think it's 1mm according to what I could see on the notes. Right, so it doesn't work. Let's try tipping it. Not a fan, is it that? Oh, we've got a pull there. So I'm pulling in from both sides and that's giving me a pull there. And confirm that. And that should just give it that edge. I mean, if you wanted, you could also do it at the bottom. I'm not sure if I did it at the bottom. So did I do it at the bottom? No, apparently I didn't. But just for some changes, let's add one at the bottom as well. So again, face fillet. Whoops, not there. Face fillet. And I'm going to go here and here. Let's just see if we can pull them in. And then OK. And then we just get a nice fillet on the bottom as well. Again, that's a non-essential addition. That lower edge there, I'm not the biggest fan, but it's a good start. Right, so finally, let's get it converted to a solid. I'm going to knit the surface. And I'm going to merge all entities to get rid of the blue lines, and I'm going to create a solid. I don't have to create a solid, I just like to do it just as a finishing. Let's just check it. Solid's good, right? Right, and finally, some are asking about its appearance. I'll show you. If I go to design, appearance, full part selected, and I'm going to go down to appearance. Now for this I actually chose organic, I think it was, wood. I think it was a polished cherry, may have been a polished cherry. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that looks even better. I like that one. So that just gives me there, and if I want to just drop to see how the thing would look after manufacture, remove the lines, and that's how it would look. And that, I think, if somebody purchased that, I think they'd be happy with that. I quite like that. Okay, so that's the notes for surface for freeforming. Not a long one, not a difficult one, but I just wanted to do that review for it. If anybody was not sure about techniques on it or things like that, I just wanted you to see that. Again, as ever, if there's any questions, please come and see me, and we can try and chat a few of them things out. What I'll do in a minute is I'm going to do a section B of these review notes where we're going to review the spiral, the helixing process. As ever, thanks, and I will speak to you soon.